Alice and her squad didn't hesitate, charging aggressively straight into the fray. Determined to keep the arrogant knights at bay, Stephen let out a deafening roar, shouting that the goblins' pathetic resistance was nothing more than a futile struggle. The second the words left his mouth, he triggered his skill. A colossal, ethereal titan suddenly materialized on the battlefield, its massive, flaming fist locking dead center onto Lin Tion's group, perfectly positioned to deliver a lethal finishing blow. Reacting instantly, GOBLIN threw himself to the front of the formation. He desperately yelled for everyone to get behind him, raising his massive bone shield high in the air to take the overwhelming force head-on. The Titan's burning fist slammed into the barrier, setting off a catastrophic, earth-shaking explosion. Watching the struggle, Lin Tion quickly deduced that even a shield that thick wouldn't be able to endure such terrifying raw power for much longer. Wasting no time, he ordered GOBLIN to trigger the king's domain. GOBLIN responded with an earth-shattering roar, violently stomping his foot into the dirt to activate his ability. The king's domain violently erupted into existence. A complex, glowing crimson magic circle rapidly expanded across the scorched earth, wrapping the entire goblin army in its protective glow. Watching the display, Stephen just sneered. Completely convinced it was nothing more than a flashy, meaningless parlor trick, he mockingly challenged the goblins to see if they could survive a second punch. Almost immediately, a second blazing fist rocketed down with even more devastating force than the first, violently shattering Lin Tion's entire defensive perimeter in an instant. Alice and the rest of the crew scrambled, narrowly dodging the jagged debris launched into the air by the blast. GOBLIN, however, wasn't so lucky. Seeing him lying completely motionless in the rubble, a panicked Ephra sprinted over, frantically checking his vitals after he had absorbed the brunt of that devastating strike. Strangely, even though the massive bone shield had been blown several yards away, it was completely scratch-free, proving its mind-bending durability. Stephen was genuinely stunned, but that shock quickly morphed into naked greed. He couldn't wrap his head around the fact that a lowly goblin had managed to tank his full-powered assault. Right then and there, he decided that the bone shield absolutely had to be a world-class artifact. Spotting an opening, another knight suddenly broke out of cover and charged straight at Lin Tion's scattered group. Laughing like a maniac, the knight made a mad dash directly for the discarded shield, fully intending to snatch it for himself. But before he could reach his prize, the solid ground beneath his boots violently cracked open. From the pitch-black fissure, the glowing, blood-red eyes of the assassin GOBLIN locked onto him, making the knight jump out of his skin. A razor-sharp blade exploded upward from the dirt. Caught completely mid-stride, the knight had zero chance of dodging. Pure terror flooded his expression, but right as GOBLIN moved to deliver the fatal strike, a blistering counterslash caught the goblin assassin, knocking him back down. The knight stood frozen in place, hyperventilating after cheating death by a hair. He shot a look of profound gratitude over toward Stephen. Wearing a smug grin, Stephen looked incredibly pleased with himself for swatting away a goblin assassin so effortlessly. Pivoting his attention back to Lin Tion, he arrogantly promised that the goblin leader was the next one on the chopping block. Right at that tense moment, GOBLIN finally groaned and regained consciousness. Seeing this, Lin Tion quickly threw up a hand signal, ordering his entire squad to fall back. His eyes were shining with a cold, ruthless intensity. Without wasting a single word of banter, Lin Tion triggered his ultimate brutality skill. Supercharged by the lingering effects of the king's domain, his aura exploded, becoming infinitely more terrifying than anything he had shown before. Across the battlefield, the knights suddenly buckled as an invisible, overwhelming pressure crushed down on their shoulders, making them feel like their physical strength was being siphoned away drop by drop. With Lin Tion's terrifying display drawing the undivided attention of every knight present, GOBLIN capitalized on the distraction. He materialized silently behind one of the armored warriors, immediately unleashing a powered-up version of his shadow assault. The lethal strike obliterated the knight in an instant. A nearby knight screamed in absolute agony as he watched his younger brother get dragged mercilessly into a suffocating black hole of dark energy. Stepping out of the shadows, GOBLIN calmly looked over to Lin Tion, requesting permission to mop up the rest of the enemies himself. Even as he asked, a dense, crackling sphere of black magic began to coalesce in his palm. Getting a quick nod of approval from his leader, GOBLIN hurled the attack forward. Stephen found himself standing completely alone. A tidal wave of pure rage erupted inside him. He unleashed a furious roar, violently rejecting the humiliating defeat playing out in front of him. But his anger quickly shifted back to shock when he spotted GOBLIN slowly dragging himself out of the ruined earth. Stephen genuinely couldn't believe the assassin had survived his earlier counterattack. The goblin's flawless, synchronized teamwork was so deeply unnerving that even a battle-hardened veteran like him was starting to feel the cold creep of genuine fear. To make matters worse, the sinister light still radiating from the magic domain beneath his boots was actively eating away at his mental resolve. Desperate, Stephen barked an order at Gilbert and his companion, demanding they hold the goblin front line back just long enough for him to hunt down whoever was keeping the domain active. Scanning the newly engaged duo, Lin Tion quickly picked up on a dangerous reality. Even though the two knights didn't look like much on the surface, together they possessed the firepower to cast world-class magic. Moving in perfect sync, Gilbert and his older brother began flying through a series of hand seals, prepping a catastrophic spell known as the Giant Cloud Cage. Without warning, massive, thick green vines erupted from the soil, violently coiling and wrapping around anything unlucky enough to be in their path. Lin Tion instantly shouted a warning to his crew, recognizing that the thorny vines were highly poisonous. Refusing to be pushed back, Lin Tion tapped into the power of the god of death. He cast Anubis Soul Devourer, summoning a dark force meant to swallow the battlefield whole. Gilbert's eyes widened in absolute terror as a gigantic, spectral avatar of Anubis, wreathed entirely in blazing purple flames, loomed up right behind him,